The next thing we will look at is a green sheet. At Thrasher Landscape, the green sheet is very important. It will tell you everything you need to know about your job for that specific day, and every billable job has its own specific green sheet. When you come in the morning, this green sheet should be in your truck book so that you know where you're going for the day, what materials you need, how long that job will take, and what needs done on that job site. The first thing to look at is to just start from the top, and you will see that this job requires plants. You'll see that this job is on company cam. You will see that this is Jesse's job. Now, what these things mean for you are that you need to make sure you have the correct plants, and we will get to that later. You need to look at the company cam photos so that you have a general idea of what is going on that day before you ever even get to that job site. This is also great to be able to look at during your day to make sure that everything is getting done as planned. This will tell you who sold that job. If Jesse sold a job, Bobby does not know anything about that job. If Bobby sold a job, Jesse does not know anything about that job. This is the person that you are to call if you have any questions on that job. Calling the opposite person does nothing but waste time for both you and them. Here you'll see the customer name. You'll see the customer address. This is the address that you will use to put into your GPS to get to the right house for your job that day. You'll come through and you will see your material list. Any materials that are not presumed to already be on the truck should be marked. So here you'll see that you need a tree stake kit, a sawzall, pole hedge trimmers, regular hedge trimmers, and a big ladder. You'll want to make sure that all these things are on your truck before you leave the shop to avoid any reason to come back to shop. You'll see the plants here, 1 red sunset maple and 3 boxwoods. If these plants are not already loaded by our loader, then you will need to load these plants on your truck as well. The bulk materials down here should already be loaded for you. 3 yards of brown mulch, 4-foot wide roll of wheat fabric, a case of sod pins, and 3 gallons of SureGuard. However, you will still need to double check and make sure that all of these things are on your truck. And if they're not, then you will need to get them yourself and put them on the truck before leaving the shop. Next thing you will do is start to fill out your sheet. You will fill out the date. If there are 2 people on this job, you will fill out your name and your crew member's name. If you clocked in at 7:30, you will fill that out here before you leave shop. Now you can see that this job is budgeted for 20 hours. That is in man hours. So this job, in theory, should take 2 guys less than 1 10-hour day to finish, because 2 times 10 is 20. The next thing that you'll do is get in your truck after you make sure that everything is loaded and ready to go, and you'll drive to this address. Once you arrive on site, you will record that on-site time here in the on-site box. If that drive took you 35 minutes and you arrived at 8:05, that will go here. Once on site, you can flip to the white sheet that is attached to every green sheet, and you will see everything that job requires to be done. Company cam is also a good thing to pull up when looking over this sheet to be able to put visuals with these words. You can read through and see that this work description reads, "We'll remove all leaves and debris from the beds, trim down the hydrangeas for winter, we'll trim and shape the boxwoods, we'll plant a red sunset maple in the front lawn between the 2 beds and 3 boxwoods in the front bed to match the existing boxwoods. We'll install a fresh layer of premium brown mulch to all beds in front." As you look over this and match it to the pictures on company cam, you'll be able to decide which job should be done first in order to be the most efficient for your day. As you go through here, a good rule of thumb, as you can see was done here, is to put a check mark next to the job that you've already completed. If it were me, I would start by trimming and shaping the boxwoods, trimming down the hydrangea, and I would put check marks after I got those done. The next thing I would do is remove the leaves and the debris from the beds. The reason I went in that order is because you will have trimmings fall into the beds when you trim these shrubs, and you do not want to have to pick up the beds twice. So then you will go in, remove all leaves and debris from the beds, and put a check when you are finished. The next thing may be to plant the red sunset maple in the front lawn between the two beds. Now, company cam should have a picture of the spot that this tree is supposed to go so that you do not put it in the wrong spot. And then plant the 3 boxwoods in the front bed to match the existing. And when those things are done, you can check those boxes. Now, chances are, at some point, you will have to come back to this sheet and take a lunch. Anytime that you work over 4 hours, you must record a lunch time and take a 30-minute lunch break. That time goes here. We just simply put 30 minutes in the box. So let's say that that was half your day, you took your lunch, and then you came back and you installed your fresh layer of premium brown mulch to all beds in the second half of your day, and check that off. After doing a walk around with the customer and making sure that everything is up to standards and double checking company cam to make sure that you didn't miss any details, you can load up the truck and come back to shop. When you leave the job site, you must record a time here. If you left this job site at 4 o'clock, that will go in this box. You will also record down here upon leaving how much material you used. If you only used, let's say, 2 yards of mulch instead of 3, you will record a 2 in actual quantity, and your difference would be -1. You used 1 less yard of mulch than was estimated. Weed fabric, you used 1 roll, and you used 1 case, so those would be 0. You also used 3 gallons of pre-emergent, so your difference would be 0. If there are any additional notes that need made, you can make those notes here. So for instance, if you used 1 less yard of mulch because, let's say, the customer had already mulched their own bed for whatever reason, you could put that down here. Customer mulched own bed. And then we would know when we were looking at this green sheet later on why we use less mulch than was estimated. Once you get back to shop and you unload your truck and you make sure that your truck is all tidied and ready to go and fueled up for the next day, you will come upstairs to the meeting room and you will fill out the clock out information on this green sheet. The clock out information is the time that you're punching out. So for this job, maybe that was 4:55. And then you will total up the hours for each person. You can do math however you wish, but make sure that it is something that makes sense for you so that we stay consistent. We do not use a decimal place system. We use minutes for our totals and our actual hours. 7:30 to 4:30 would be 9 hours. Then, if you add the extra 25 minutes, you're at 9 hours and 25 minutes. You then subtract your lunch time of 30 minutes, which would give you 8 hours and 55 minutes for this job. At 8 hours and 55 minutes, you will double that or add those totals together for your actual hours. 8 hours and 8 hours is 16 hours. 55 minutes plus 55 minutes is 1 hour and 50 minutes. So you have 17 hours and 50 minutes of actual time. You will then fill out the difference. 20 minus 17 hours and 50 minutes is 2 hours and 10 minutes under budgeted time. You will then look and see, was your job completed or not completed? If this has been filled out, then your job should be completed. You will mark completed and put this green sheet into the completed work folder in the upstairs meeting room. That is how we fill out our green sheets and every detail that may go into that green sheet. Feel free to write any notes or any pictures or anything that you feel may help explain the job on this white sheet here. Try not to clutter this page, as it is vital that we get the correct information out of this front green sheet. If you have any questions, feel free to ask a coworker or management, and we would be happy to help explain anything that you may need to know.